3 seconds. Moore. Miller. And Miami wins it. Miller with the shot clock a factor. Tough shot, and it will go. What a big-time shot.
Misses the first. Miller on the follow, and Miami leads.
Moore on the drive. Again, they go to the baseline. A dunk by Jordan Miller.
Right back, though. That's Miller again, like he did in the first half.
Oh, he is playing well.
This is episode 86. I'm joined by Jordan Miller, starting guard for the University of Miami. Played ball at Loudoun Valley High School and George Mason University before he transferred to Miami. And, dude, it's a pleasure having you on, man.
And I appreciate you taking the time out your day to have me on this podcast.
Of course, dude. And, hey, shout out Traub for getting this set up. I mean, you guys played D1 back in the day together and at Valley. So, I mean, he's the reason this is happening.
Yeah, 100%. Me and Matt go way back. Sandbox, basically. Good dude, good person, just overall great person.
True. And I figured we'd start with Miami's Elite Eight run this past season. This was the first time you guys made it to the Elite Eight, like as a team. And you averaged 10 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. But what are some stories or like memories that you guys made that stand out from the season and from the tournament?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, it started off, we in preseason, we were kind of all like, we got some transfers. How are we going to look this year? The coaching staff were trying to put, the best plan possible, the best group, starting lineup, all the stuff, all the stuff that goes into, the team. So we had a scrimmage, actually. It was a close scrimmage. We were playing FIU. They're mid-major program, regardless mid-major or not, they're still a good basketball team. Like at the end of the day, anyone that's Division I can hoop. So we played that scrimmage. It was close, like I said, and they ended up beating us by 1 point. And we're supposed to be in the ACC, quote unquote, and that was really like a eye opener to us. It was like, okay, we really got to get this together. We got to make sure that we're all on the same page. Our chemistry's down. All these little things. We got to defend better. And so, at that moment, it was up in the air. It was like, like how are we gonna look this year? And after that point, we had a rough patch in the beginning of the season. I believe we lost to what's that school called in Florida?
Florida Atlantic?
UCF. No, UCF.
Oh, UCF.
Played UCF. They shot the lights out the ball. We lost that game by 6, I think. And, it was just kind of going like a little, you can tell the energy in the locker room was like, okay, like what kind of season this is going to be.
Yeah.
And then down the line in, was it December? We played in this ESPN Classic tournament and we played Alabama. They were ranked, I think, top 25 at that point. And so beginning of the game, first half, actually, it was tied going into the half, I believe, or we were up 2 or they were up 2 close. We're like, okay, like they're ranked top 25. We're hanging with these guys. Moral of the story, we end up getting blown out by like 25, right? Second half, they ended up hitting everything. Our defense was just not there. And we actually had a players meeting, no coaches, because, when coaches are there, no one really wants to speak their mind truly. We had a players meeting in a hotel room and we were like, look, we got to get this together. We got to lock in. We got to do whatever it takes to make sure, it's uphill from here, no longer downhill. So actually we put together our own team, like just the players film session when we got back to Miami, and we watched that game film and we broke it down and we were talking, and like, that's where the communication, I think, really started to become like really valuable and like great. And so from that moment on, we ended up, having like this 9-game win streak. It started off with 1, then 2, then 3, and then we played Duke at Duke. We beat them 4, and now, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Were you guys ranked after the Duke win?
No, we weren't, which is BS, I must say. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just, we can't control it. It's just a bunch of people who think so. And the crazy stat is we were like rated top 3 luckiest teams on Ken Palm, which is like, how do you even calculate luck? But that's another thing. But so we ended up playing really well. We got to 9 wins, and then we played FSU at their place, which is our rival. Gym was packed. Everything was packed. I don't know if you watched the game, but we ended up going down to the wire. We were down 3. Someone shot. I got the offensive rebound. I
Yeah,
kicked it
they're
out.
off the free throw, right?
Oh no, that was Duke, but
Right.
this one was just a live one. I kicked it out to Charlie Moore. He hit a 3, and then the game's tied, right? And we're like, we're going crazy. The crowd's quiet now. It's tied up, and the hostile crowd at rivalry schools. It's always fun. And so it's like maybe 5 seconds left. Their point guard brings it up. He ends up driving, gets fouled, or he didn't really get fouled. We watched that replay so many times. Charlie had his hand straight up. He didn't really foul him, but can't control that. He ends up making 2 free throws. We lose. Our 9-game win streak is over. But then from that point on, we knew, we're a top tier team, regardless if we're in the top 25 or not. If we do what we have to do and lock in, like, we can really make a run. So ultimately the goal became, just to make the tournament. We got to make the tournament. If you don't make the tournament, then the season's pretty much a waste.
Yeah.
So as we kept playing and playing more games, it seemed like every game was like okay, this is a must win to secure a bid in the tournament. And we ended up finished the regular season, and we were selection Sunday, and then we eventually got picked to be in the tournament, which was cool for me personally. It was my first time being in a tournament. A lot of guys, it was their first time. Some guys, it was like the second, third. But for me personally, it was like, okay, like, this is what it's like.
That's lit, dude.
So it was really dope and to experience that. And so then, we fly out, and Coach L, he's a very knowledgeable coach, pretty old, or I guess experienced, some people like to say, instead of old. So, he was just like, when it comes to this tournament time, it's about you just taking it one game at a time. Whether you win by 1 point, you win by 15, 20, whatever it is, you just need to win one game at a time. It's win or go home. So, we all go into it, feeling confident. Now we're starting to play teams that were out of our conference, because, it's just a bunch of teams that are out of our conference. And personally, we liked it because we played so fast and we turned people over. And we noticed that when we played teams in the ACC, we played certain teams twice, they would adjust that second time and the games would be a lot harder.
Yeah.
But since we knew we were going to play teams that haven't faced us before, we knew, like, okay, you can kind of prepare for, like, our play style, but it's just something like when you got to adjust.
Once you're actually out there, it's probably way different.
Exactly. So first game we played, who was it?
Was it Auburn, the first game?
No, that was the second game. It was
Iowa State, right?
No, that was the third.
Damn.
I can't remember.
And you guys were the
Anyways,
10 seed, right?
Yeah, we were the 10 seed. And we play them. We come out. We handle business. We do what we have to do. And all of a sudden, we're facing Auburn. And, they have top 3 draft pick, Jabari Smith. And it's just a lot of hype around them, especially ESPN. They love to, drag that kind of stuff. So the vibes in the locker room are like, yo, we got to get this done. This is a statement game for us. If we can lock this one in, we can show the whole world that we're serious and we're contenders for winning the national championship. So we ended up playing that game. It was a crazy game. Vibes were crazy. Like, Reggie Miller, Grant Hill were in the building watching, doing the live version of it.
Yeah.
And we end up winning, right? So we win by 18, right? So at this point, we're like, yo, we can really do this. Like, if we really lock in, we can really win this national championship. So now all of a sudden it went from, like, everybody has that belief in themselves. Like, okay, we can win this, right? But I would say we were a little skeptical at first, because we were like, okay, do we belong here? Like, we knew we did, but, like, we kind of needed some wins to really prove it. Everybody had their brackets, having Auburn, win that side of the bracket. So now we're like, okay, like, we can really, really do this. Like, let's just keep it pushing. So then we ended up playing Iowa State. We beat Iowa State. It was a crazy game, good game. Like, at that point, like, in the tournament, what I realized from my experience is, like, every team can play. You just got to come ready with a good game plan, which, you kind of rely on your coaching staff for that. So you need a good coaching staff. And then, you just got, like I said, you got to come ready to play.
Yeah.
So, fought hard, ended up winning that one. And then I believe we played Kansas next. Yeah, we did. And we're in the Elite Eight. So now it's like, yo, I'm thinking in my
That's
head,
sick.
right? The crowd, and I didn't even mention the crowd. Like the crowd, gym's full. You know what I mean? We started in South Carolina, then we went to Chicago. And then I'm thinking in my head, man, I really want to put this hat on after the game. They put, actually, before, I'm going to tell you, before we got to see, who was it? It was Villanova and someone else play, I believe. And we got to see the ceremony before we came out to play. We got to see like the ceremony of what they do before.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at them put the stage together. We're looking at the confetti fall. We're looking at them cutting the nets, put the hats on, everything, you name it. And we're like, man, we got to win this game. Like, this is going to be like, this is it. This is the moments we want. Hang with them in the first half, and then they slowly just outran us in the second half.
Yeah.
Coaching staff, I got to give credit to the coaching staff. They told us, they were like, they're going to run on us. They're going to run on us. But I think it was just fatigue. We played back to back. We played that Saturday, then we're going to play that Sunday, or it's Friday, Saturday, one of the 2 days. Fatigue.
And the Kansas team was deep too. I mean,
yeah.
And they were just like I feel like a second half team. I mean, basketball is a game of like momentum swings, but I mean, in the championship, they were down like 18-2 or something like that to start the game. So, I mean, no shame, obviously, in making it to the Elite Eight, but you guys at least lost to the team that won, like the whole thing, if that kind of softens it a bit.
Yeah, bittersweet, but yeah, all credit to Kansas. They're a good team. Their big killed us on the inside. We were a pretty small team last year, so when someone had like a really dominating big, it was really difficult for us. And like I said, they just got up and down. And like when they played Providence the day before, there was the same story of what kind of happened in the championship and our game. Is like in that second half, they just hit some gear. You know what I mean? And then they just build off of that.
So you guys had Selection Sunday, and then you won your first game, then you beat Auburn. How do you stay like dialed in after a big win? I mean, you said your coach says to take it like one game at a time, but when you guys are on cloud 9 in the locker room after beating Auburn, you're like, hey, like we can actually make the push. How do you kind of stay locked in for like those 48 hours before your next game?
Yeah, I would say, it's just putting that game in the past, like whether it's a win or loss. You just gotta, that game's over with, especially in a tournament. Like, yeah, you got the job done. You can soak that victory in like for that night. But once that clock hits 12 a.m., it's like, okay, we're locked into this next game. Like that game, almost treated like it was like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Obviously you gotta hydrate, eat, get your body right, be able to play again. And then, just watching your film, doing your scout on the team that you're going to be playing next to really like put yourself in a mental state to, play the next team that you're about to play.
How did you land to Miami? Like, what was the transfer process? And then also, like, how does your style of play fit in at Miami?
Yeah, so I'll start with how I landed at Miami. So I was at 3 years at George Mason, and my head coach ended up getting fired. And it's a little bit of a crazy story. Not too crazy, but just a little, it was interesting how it all happened. So our director of basketball operations hits us all and he's like, yo, Zoom meeting in 30 minutes. And we're in the team group chat like, yo, like 30 minutes, like no warning. He didn't tell us yesterday, like coach is tripping. How's he going to schedule a meeting within 30 minutes? Expect us all to be there. So, no one's really thinking he's going to get fired, but it's just like, okay, he's probably going to say something like, head coaches just say whatever.
Yeah.
So I get on the Zoom meeting, everybody's in there and the vibes are completely different, right? Like usually the assistants are on first, the staff's on first, coach wasn't in there yet, but usually they're talking, but nobody's saying a single thing at all, right? And no one's thinking much of it. Like no one's expecting our coach to get fired. So just quiet, right? I'm eating a Jersey Mike sandwich, right? I remember this vividly. Shout out Jersey Mike's. So our head coach gets on the call, and you know how you can when you get onto Zoom, you can turn your camera on. It's off, and it's usually always on. So that's like another second red flag. It's like, okay. So like 10 seconds go by, 10 to 20. He turns his camera on. You can see he's a little distressed. So he's like, hey guys, I just want to let you know, and I'm in the mid bite of a Jersey Mike sandwich. He's like, I just want to let you know, like, I've been fired as your head coach. It's been a pleasure to work with you guys," and saying all this stuff. And immediately in my mind, I'm like, wow, I have this Jersey Mike sandwich in my hand. I'm mid-bite, and I'm just like, whoa, my heart kind of drops a little bit, kind of like, or like your stomach, on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's just from shock. And he's talking, we're texting in a group chat like, yo, no way this is happening. So immediately my brain goes to what am I going to do next? What's next for me? Because ultimately I planned on transferring my senior year, or this year coming up. I was going to transfer from Mason because I wanted to explore my other options regardless. But all of a sudden, my plans got like pushed forward. So I hang up the phone, or we end the Zoom call. First person I call is my AU coach. One of my AU coaches, his name's Clutch. We call him Clutch. And I tell him the situation, and he's really attached to the basketball world and stuff like that. So he kind of knew what to say, how to guide me and all that stuff. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up entering into the transfer portal, figuring out that's best. I figured out that's what's best for me. So I entered the transfer portal, still leaving that option open to come back to Mason. And the new head coach, Kim English, great guy, great dude. He played at Mizzou, played in the NBA, was assistant at Tennessee. He got hired, but I'm already in the transfer portal by the time he got hired. So actually, that's wrong. I wasn't in the transfer portal by the time he got hired. So first coach to reach out to me was Coach L, the University of Miami, right? And what was different about him in this particular instance was usually the assistants hit you up first, and then the head coaches, they direct you to them. But Coach L hit me up directly, which was like strange and new to me. And I'm like, okay, like maybe this is different. Pretty cool, but it's different. So I talked to Coach L. First thing he says on the phone when I'm talking to him is he's like, "Hello, Jordan. Like, do you know about my success I had at George Mason?" And I'm like, "Well, duh, like that's the pride and joy. You took him to the Final Four. Like, we hear about that practically every day." And the conversation ends up going great during this time. It's COVID, so I can't go visit them in person. I have to visit them. It's like a Zoom visit. We were doing Zoom visits, so we scheduled up a Zoom visit. I scheduled up a couple with a couple other schools, but Miami's just so happened to be like the best presentation. They broke down my stats really well. They showed me how I would fit in with them really well. And like just overall, like I said, the presentation was just like, like, okay, these guys care.
Yeah.
Whereas like the other schools was just, it kind of just seemed like, I'm just another guy on their list.
Was Miami ever like kind of on your radar when you were coming out of high school? Like when you're coming out of Valley, was that ever something that you considered?
No, because honestly, when I was coming out of Valley, I just got a lot of mid-major looks because, I was A, in public school. 2, I didn't play on the circuit. I played on a local AAU team.
Mhm.
So I never really got those high major looks. And I always thought I could play at a high major level, but I think the route that I took led me to, mid-major schools being interested, which makes sense because ultimately, if you're not playing against the quote unquote best competition, schools are going to be a little bit hesitant to be like, okay, can this guy play with, who's going to be up against or with our team? So to answer your question, Miami wasn't on the list. If they were my first go around, I probably would have went, but that's not how the cards fell.
So what was it like when you transferred to Miami and you pull up, you get off the plane, check out the campus? Like what's going through your head? Like how awesome of an experience was that?
So actually, I only been to Florida one time before, so I barely remembered it. I didn't really soak in Florida when I went for like an AU tournament the first time.
Mhm.
So I land, and I just remember the weather just being like this perfect warm, not too hot. I actually landed at nighttime, so the weather's warm. Like it's just the vibes are different, right? So my brother actually lives down here in Miami. So when I went to visit, I just stayed with him because, like I said, the COVID stuff was still relatively new, so we couldn't do like a whole official, but it was like an unofficial.
Yeah.
So I go, my brother's driving me back. I'm like looking out the window, just kind of like amazed. You know what I mean? Like Virginia after 10 o'clock, all the lights are off and there's just nothing really much to do. You might see some porch lights on, but in Miami, it's like this whole world that just like this nightlife that I'm not
Everyone's
used
just buzzing in Miami. It's like a little
Exactly.
Vegas, dude.
I swear. So like, I'm just soaking this all in. It was just crazy. And so then I get to see the campus the following day, and they kind of take me on a tour of it, and I'm seeing palm trees. They got this beach volleyball court, like where people can play beach volleyball. They have this big lake in the middle of campus. Like I'm just sitting there like, holy cow! Like I'm really here right now. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the vibes, like coaching staff, they really showed that they cared. The campus was beautiful. Weather was warm. It was really like, okay, there's no place I'd really rather be than here. You know what I mean? And plus, I was tired of the cold weather. So I was like, I know it would be nice to get out of Virginia specifically and get to Florida, where it's warm all year round.
So, like, what are some of your favorite things to do in Miami? Like when you're out of season, like in the summer, that we could talk about, but like, like checking out nightlife or, going to like a Heat game or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like to do?
Definitely like going to some Heat games. Pretty cool atmosphere being at FTX Arena. Going to the beach, something, in Virginia, you got to drive a couple hours to go to the beach. Whereas in Florida, you can drive 15 minutes and be at any beach that you pretty like 15 to 45 minutes, you'd be at any beach you want to be in that state. So I would say those two things. Obviously, like, exploring at night, like the kind of nightlife, see what people are about. But like for the most part, just like being at the beach, like it's nice to be able to just, have the option to go whenever you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So, could you kind of like see yourself living in Miami full time when you're older?
That's a hard one. My mom always asks me that question every time. She's like, "So, would you want to live in Miami?" Honestly, I would say no. No disrespect to Miami. I just think it's a little too like fast paced.
Yeah.
Like, somewhere I would want to live, maybe close, maybe like 30 minutes out of Miami, where like I could still have the option to come back in when I wanted to, be surrounded by noise, like people, fast paced stuff. But I think for the most part, I would like to just live close to a city, but somewhere where it's like more quiet.
Yeah. It's like a really hectic. I could definitely see that. I mean, obviously I've never like lived in Miami or like a big city, but yeah, I figured it'd just be chaos. Like
Yeah.
living like in like the heart of New York City, even like that would just be. I was actually in New York when you guys were playing in the ACC tournament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I almost checked out one of the games. I was watching them at a bar with some friends, but I ended up going to the championship game between Duke and Tech. But yeah, I kind of wanted to check out one of you guys' games, but
That's dope. That's dope.
yeah.
But yeah, like as far as Miami, like I would say it's one of those places like it's a great vacation spot, but as far as living there, like, there's definitely better places to live.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I kind of want to jump back and talk about your high school career, like your youth basketball career. You were all-time leading scorer at Loudoun Valley with over 1,700 points. First team All-Metro, won the state championship in 2017. What did you love most about high school ball?
When taking me down memory lane, I would say playing with the guys that I played with, like for instance, Matt, a couple of guys from my AAU team. Like the chemistry there, is just, it was built from such a young age and it just grew. So like playing with those guys, knowing them off the court, knowing their stories, seeing like everybody, just kind of grow into their own version of the man that they're gonna be, was definitely my favorite part. Like aside of basketball, anything, like being able to go to school with the guys, it was just the chemistry and like the relationships that we had was just something that, I don't know if I'll ever be able to, build again with a certain team, because like in college, for instance, like it's a bunch of guys coming to one school. And so you try to learn so much about someone in a year, but it's like, some people are scared to open up. Some people, are just closed off to begin with. So like having that high school bond and knowing, where each of your teammates came from and seeing them grow is just something that you just can't beat.
Yeah, and you gave them, or you like led them to their first state championship. And then I actually saw a couple weeks ago they invited you back, and you did a commencement speech for graduation. Like, how cool is that? That you get to do opportunities now, like through the school, like the alumni relations and everything.
Yeah, it was dope. Like I would say I didn't know how much support I had from like, the Purcellville, Northern Virginia area until like that moment. Like I went by and stopped by my high school and like kids were like asking me for photos, teachers were asking me for photos, catching up with people. Like I just didn't know how much of an impact I had on like, my hometown area, so to say. And like being able to go back and do the high school speech and be the commencement speaker, it was like an honor, you know what I mean? Like not a lot of people get to do that, and not a lot of people are, bold enough to do that. Like at first, like when my old principal, Sue Ross, she called me and she was like, hey, I just got this crazy idea. Would you want to be the commencement speaker for graduation? And I was like, like let me think about that one, like that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I knew it was something that I would regret not doing moving forward. And that's what kind of pushed me through to like end up going through with it. But like to answer your question, man, it's just crazy seeing the support system that I have from back home and like being in Miami and knowing like people don't have to watch the game. There's so much other things that they can do, like just in their free time, but they take the time out their days to watch my games and like, watch the tournament. I just thought it was just so surreal seeing that support.
What are some like differences that kind of took a while to get adjusted to on the court from that level of basketball to the collegiate level?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing would be the size of the big man. Like, for instance, in the A10, right, the league that George Mason was in, usually the fours and fives, the bigs, like the fours were about my size, like 6'7", and the bigs were probably like 6'9", 6'10", if not shorter. But going to the ACC, it's like, okay, there's going to be a footer on the team, a 7-footer on that other team,
That's ridiculous,
regardless.
dude.
You know what I mean? Like we have several 7-footers. Like there's going to be 7-footers on the other team for sure. So like, don't even think that one night you're going to get a break. You're not. So
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest adjustment. Like as far as playing basketball, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I think it gets to that point. Like everybody knows how to play. So I wouldn't say there was a big skill jump. I just think, there was a lot more solid players, like everybody's 1 through 5, made it there for a reason. They can play. I wouldn't say it's not like that in the A10, but like, maybe 1 or 2 players, you don't really have to necessarily worry about. It was like, no, any player on that team that you're facing in the ACC can go off for 20 points that night. So like everybody has to be locked in.
Yeah. And I could also see like making that jump from Mason to Miami, like the environments that you're playing in, like ACC basketball is like the best basketball in the country. So like, what are some of your favorite stadiums that you've played in?
I gotta say, Louisville's gym is just amazing. Like it's high tech, like state of the art. Like the locker rooms are nice. You can just tell like it's one of the newer gyms, and it just looks beautiful. Duke was crazy. That was my first time playing in Duke. Like the environment, the Cameron crazies, like people always
Yeah.
say, and you're like, okay, they got to see it to believe it. No, I saw it to believe it. People yelling out stuff during warm ups, like that's a whole story within itself. But Duke was crazy. And I would say we didn't play at UNC this year. We played UNC at home, but play the next year. I know that's going to be crazy. But for the most part, all the gyms were like really nice. Like everybody had a pretty good fan base come out. So as far as like George Mason or A10 to ACC, like environment wise, 100% like better.
And how are you guys getting ready for next season? I mean, like kind of like what's your outlook heading into the next one? I know you guys lost a few seniors, but you guys trying to make another like push towards like March Madness and another deep run?
Yeah, 100%. The goal for sure is to win the national championship. Like, we lost 7 guys, I believe, 5 to 7. I believe it's 7. 3 of them were seniors that were starters, so we had to get some transfers to replace them. As far as like our hopes, like I said, to win the championship for sure, a bittersweet ending. Everybody likes to be like, oh, at least look at the bright side of things, which is good. At least you made it to Elite Eight, but it's like, being a competitor, it's like, I want more, So
Yeah.
the pieces that we got in, like we got Nigel Pack. He came from K-State, Kansas State. He's the I always struggle to say this, the highest 3-point percentage player returning it to the NCAA. I probably butchered that, but I think you know what I mean for the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
part.
Do you know what he shoots? Like what his percentage is?
It was, I believe, it was 42,
Dude,
which
that's
is
water. Yeah.
right, that crazy. And then we got a big man, Norchad Amir. He came from Arkansas State, I believe. He was the player of the year for that conference.
Mhm.
So he's going to be a good big for us. He can rebound. He can jump out the gym. He's strong. He's 6'8", about 250. So, he's a big presence in there. So, I think the pieces that we got and the experience from the players that are still here, just puts us together, just makes a, perfect combination to win the national championship.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we know, like, there's work that's required to get there, but, we're all willing to put in that work. And, for the players that are returning, it's like, okay, we made that Elite Eight run. Let's do more now.
Yeah, I feel like this is a great time to be like either a fan of Miami or go to Miami. Just like the football team's on the rise, basketball team's on the rise. But when you guys have these transfers come in, like what are some things that you do in the offseason to kind of like build chemistry amongst each other?
Okay, that's a good question. So, like, and it's crazy because I got to see what it was like to be a transfer. And then now that it's my second year, I'm kind of more affiliated and more comfortable here. So I got to see both sides of things. But like honestly, we'll have team events, like we'll go bowling. Sometimes Coach L will have all of us come to his house and like he'll order us pizza and wings, and his wife will make us cookies, and like
Nice.
we'll go into his pool and stuff like that. So a lot of it is just spending time with each other outside of basketball. But honestly, basketball is such a huge part to like all of us. Like we're there every day, it's practically a job. And so like we see each other so much, we go through lifting together, we go through practice together, conditioning together. Like we're around each other so much, like chemistry. I don't want to say it's forced, but like by nature, you're just building chemistry by seeing someone every day. I think it was a great thing for the NCAA to allow for, players to get paid for their name, image, and likeness. I think it was a long time coming, and it allows you to just brand yourself and immerse yourself into like the business side of things. You know what I mean? Like being a student athlete, you're doing school and then your sport. You don't really have time, especially if you want to be great, you don't really have time for all the other stuff.
Mhm.
But being able, this opened a new gate for you to not just be someone, but be a brand and like brand yourself to, other companies. And, being at Miami and being like in the ACC, obviously we have more of a following than, others low major or mid major schools may have. So it's like, just trying to take like use the most out of that opportunity to, brand yourself and maybe get some deals with places. Most of the time, if people don't have an agent, you should get an agent. But I have an agent and I didn't have one up until probably like 5 months ago. But it was just hard for me to manage all that stuff myself. It's like I just want to focus on basketball and school.
Yeah.
And then having that agent being able to just take care of that NIL side of things, it's pretty nice.
And I saw that you're kind of dabbling in sports broadcasting. Is that something like when your basketball career is done way down the line? Is that something you'd kind of like to dabble in?
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was like a kind of like the graduation thing, like a why not,
Mhm.
I think as far as it being a career, I wouldn't mind it, but like it's just something I would have to think about when I finish hooping. Like it was nice, don't get me wrong, and I could see myself doing it. But as far as like just talking about other athletes, it kind of put me in a point where it's like, I want to be the athlete that they're talking about. I don't want to talk about these athletes,
Yeah. No, it definitely
So
makes sense.
like I think, when basketball is all said and done for me, maybe it's something I'll think about. But for now, you know, not really my forte.
And you were one of six ACC players in the last 3 decades to average 10 points, 2 steals, and shoot 56% from the field. And all those guys, all those 6 players ended up being top 5 draft picks. But what excites you about the next chapter of your basketball career and potentially taking it to the NBA?
I think the most exciting thing is just the potential, that I can tap into and like take my game. Like the sky's really the limit for me, and the more I play, the more I realize that. So it just what excites me is like it comes down to how bad do I want it. It's not a skill thing. It's not there's nothing that I'm necessarily missing, and I'm not trying to sound, um cocky at all by saying that. It's just more or less it's like, okay, do I want to dedicate the time, the effort it takes, to get drafted? Or if it's not something I really want to do, then it's something I just have to, come to terms with. But honestly, like the sky's the limit for me, and it excites me that it's like, okay, if I do these certain things right or put in this extra work, it's gonna get rewarded. So it's just like it excites me that there's that possibility for me, I guess is for better words. Like that possibility, it's there for me. And for a lot of people, like that door's closed, like I could be 5'5" and love the sport. But no, I'm probably not gonna get drafted solely based on my height. But like me having the intangibles to, play in the NBA is something that, God blessed me with. And since me having that possibility, like I said, is what excites me the most.
Mm-hmm. And what are some things that, or I guess like, when did you kind of realize like that this could be a reality? Like playing in NBA, was it like a certain workouts that you were doing where you're like, yeah, I'm kind of dominating here, or like kind of how'd you go about that?
I would say, it's always been in the back of my head. And I've always been like questionable about it. Like, could I really? And then I would say this year, like, honestly, after playing against like Bankero, who went number one, Jabari Smith, who went number three, it was like, okay, like I can hoop with these guys. I did it. Um, so like, why not me? It really
Yeah.
became real. And I thought about entering the draft this year, but I didn't because I had some knee issues that I had to resolve. I felt like I wouldn't have been able to be 100%, me if I would have entered the draft, and me doing these NBA workouts, and I'm just like, 50%. And then two, I really wanted to get my 3-point percentage up because I only shot, I believe, 29 and 31 this year, and that's been my lowest 3-point percentage over my whole college career. So it's something that, I'm dedicating a lot of time to this off season. And I know if I get those numbers up, honestly, like if I get my 3-point percentage up to probably above 36% or higher, like I can really get drafted. So like I said, that's why it falls into like how bad do I want it kind of thing.
Yeah. Who are some players like current or retired in the NBA that you kind of like to, watch and maybe like pick up some traits and stuff and translate it to your game on the court?
Yeah. First one would definitely be Kobe Bryant. Obviously, rest in peace to him. I just think, his mindset towards the game was something that really influenced me. That whole Mamba mentality is something that, you got to train. Like training your mind is more than half the battle. Like people like to say, sports psychologists like to say, basketball is 80% mental, 20% physical, so like that mental part of the game is so important. And then another player is Jimmy Butler. I just think we play very similar. He's a dog. And like I just watch him, and like our games, like literally we play so similar. And so I like watching the way he gets downhill or creates shots for himself, and kind of like to add those things to my game.
So what's a team? I mean, obviously you can't choose, but if you could play on any NBA team, where do you think you'd fit in the best? And like, who are some guys that you'd love to play with?
That's a good. Everybody always asks me that question too. I would say, I don't know as far as like the fit in the best with, but like if I had to pick a team to play with, I would definitely say the Wizards, just so I can be close to home. And
we need the help too. I'm a DC sports fan, but we need it.
And being able to have like family and friends come to the games and stuff like that, it would definitely be dope, and being closer to home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually just saw they tweeted, I think it was like yesterday, they're bringing back the old logo and the old jerseys. Yeah. I'm talking about the blue one. It's like an actual wizard. Yeah. That's going to be
Those
clean.
are going to be fire. 100%.
Yeah. I'm excited for that. But, another thing that I saw when I was reading through, I think it was like your page on Miami basketball.com or whatever, is you play a lot of video games. What are your top 3 video games of all time?
Of all time? Okay, I would say number 1 would be Fortnite. Love that game. The classic. When that came out, I was obsessed with it. I actually made some money off Fortnite actually.
Really?
When I was yeah. And one of the like scrimmages they had. And then Warzone would be number 2 for sure. It's just fun. I still play that now with like some of my teammates.
Mhm.
And that'll be another part of like the bonding too, like just playing video games with your teammates, like just that's another good bonding exercise. And then the third one, oh, that's a toughie.
Some great games out there.
You're right. You know what I mean? Like, let me see.
I mean, you don't have to cap it at 3. I mean, if you just start spitting out ones that you do like.
I would say 2K. Like, I don't play 2K a lot, but like it's definitely fun sometimes to just, hop in the park and just hoop with some teammates or just whatever. So those
Yeah.
would be my top 3.
Yeah, dude. I haven't played 2K in a minute, but I used to be obsessed with it. Like my player and trying to get like all the points and everything.
100%.
Yeah, I'd probably say like, I don't know. I like Madden a lot. GTA's got to be up there for me. I don't know. Maybe like all time, like Modern Warfare 2. That's a classic.
That's a classic.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
don't know.
real
We were actually
classic
talking
right
about this
there.
when we were on the drive down here. We were kind of just like going through old games and stuff and like campaigns and just like which one was the best and diving into it. But now back to basketball. Throughout your entire career, all the different levels you've played at, what would you say is the most memorable game that you've played in?
I would say it was the state championship game we had back in 2017. Like, we all, when you play high school sports, you want to win the state championship. Like, it's always your goal. And for us to be the first and only team so far to win the state championship, it was just surreal. And like, I remember wanting that, like the desire, I wanted it so bad that like it almost got to like embarrassed, like I couldn't take it anymore how bad I wanted it. So like being able to like cut those nets down and like I said, like I mentioned, like being able to be with those my teammates that like I grew up with and share that experience with them was definitely like a surreal moment.
Yeah.
And then
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good. And then I would say Duke is not far behind. Like maybe like it's like the Duke win we had because they were number 2 and that gym was just crazy. So those 2 for sure.
And in the state championship game, didn't you have like 30 points or something?
27 and 8.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
So like going into that game, like I don't know where it was, but you guys are driving there, taking the bus there. Are you just dialed in? Are you like, we're going to win this game and I'm going to have 30 points?
I just remember being like, I want to win this game so bad. There's no way we can come this far, and not secure the state title. Like it just can't. Like I literally I couldn't, like I couldn't walk away from that gym and not have won that state championship title or like us as a team. Like I just couldn't. So like I remember too. It's like whenever I play, right, I don't ever really say like, okay, I'm trying to go score this amount of points. Like I just let the game come. And like I ended up with 27. I remember looking at the end and being like, oh, I had 27. Like that's wild. You know what I mean? Like I've never really been like a point chaser. I've just kind of been the kind of guy to just make the right play and kind of do whatever, the team needs me to do at that certain moment,
Yeah. So high school basketball must have been awesome because like you were first team all Metro. So like, were there ever just like situations where you're bringing the ball up and you're like, yeah, I could really like do any move that I want to on these kids. And then like, was it ever like that going through your head? Like how not easy it was, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. My whole high school career, and like Matt was with me too, and like 3 of my other teammates, we ended up going my overall record or ours for the 4 players was 95-3 or 95-5. And we only lost 5 games total.
That's
my
crazy.
whole high school, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
What a
So,
run.
like,
You guys had a little dynasty going.
You know what I'm saying? So like it was the gyms were packed and it's all public school too. You know what I mean? Like there's always this hype around private schools, blah, 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 blah. But like being able to do that in a public school and like have just like the same people I went to elementary school with, the middle school, then high school, like them be a part of it. It was just dope. And like, I mean, there's definitely some games, where I'm like, okay, like I can really like, if I really want to, I can really give these dudes buckets. You know what I mean? But it was just fun, man.
Did you ever talk trash to the opposing, student sections and stuff?
No, I never really was a trash talker, but like they definitely talk their trash. You know,
Yeah.
people love the little overrated chant at the free throw line. People love doing that.
Yeah, I love the student section at school, man. Like when our basketball team would play, like we were pretty bad when I went there, but it's just fun to chirp,
Right. And it's
especially
like
as a
I
fan.
always wish I could be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm always playing, but like sometimes, that's why I would go to the football games in my high school and be able to have that, experience. But like I was like, man, I wish I could just be in the crowd for a basketball game. It'll probably be
Yeah.
so dope.
Did you ever? Because I mean, DMV basketball is like so dominant. Did you ever consider going to a private school like the Mather, Gonzaga, or trying to think of some of the other ones? But did you ever consider going to a private school?
The only one was Middleburg Academy. That was literally right up the street from me. I actually live in Middleburg. But other than that, like PVI, DeMatha, Gonzaga, they never really reached out to me. So, it never really was an option for me. I don't think I would have gone if they would have, just because like I had older brothers that went through Valley that played there. So they were close with Coach Dawson. My family knew Coach Dawson. So I think regardless of, who reached out to me, I probably would have stayed.
Yeah, you want to get them that ring, dude. Get them that banner.
100%.
So what are some awesome stories you have from D1? Because I mean, I used to play against you all the time when you guys it was like our Super Bowl and we never won. So it was like we were always like excited when we got the chance to play against D1 at I swear we would always play at Douglas too. Like that gym. I love that gym so much. But how awesome was D1? I feel like we should talk about it because a lot of those guys are like Traub, I know Dominic Peterson, Jalen, JD. I still remember like a lot of those guys. So like what are some great memories you have from them or from that team?
Yeah. I think it was my very first like time experiencing a brotherhood outside of family. You know what I mean? Like everybody has that family that you have that's just blood, but being able to like have that family that isn't blood but becomes family is just very nice. Like all those guys you mentioned, like we're all super close to this day. You know what I mean? Like we all talk to each other. It's like we never left. Even though we went our separate ways, it's still like that close bond. And just being able to have people like look after me and take care of me and put them under a wing, like our coach, Coach Eric Williams, and
He's a legend, dude.
a legend. He started his own organization, and that's hard to do. And also I can't not mention Miss JD's mom, JD and Jaden's mom, Jerry Pierre. She just, she was like my second mom away from home. Like she took care of me. Coach Eric taught me like the discipline side of things, how to just be a dog. And like Miss Jerry was just so nurturing and loving and like kind, and still taught me like how to be a man. I think the D1SA organization taught me the most out of anybody to, be my own man, how to make right decisions, and, to just do things the right way.
Yeah, dude, we would like live like vicariously through you guys because we would play and then we would get bodied by like 50 and then you guys would go on to play like in the national tournament and we'd be like, yeah, like I mean if they do well that kind of like makes us look a little bit better than but yeah, dude, those were the days. I miss AAU ball. I mean we played
You play on the flex, right?
Yeah, flex.
Yeah, I remember.
Dude, that stuff was awesome. What middle school did you play at?
Blue Ridge.
Blue Ridge. Okay, yeah, I played at Eagle.
Okay.
So yeah,
I hated Eagle.
Why?
I just hated,
dude. Eagle Ridge was
that
was such a good time. Middle school was awesome. Wait, what was your beef with Eagle?
You guys were just good. Like I just hated.
That's fair.
I love the competition wise, but like it was like, okay, we gotta play Eagle Ridge. Eagle Ridge. It was Eagle Ridge and Stonehill, I believe, that were always just like really
I think we
good.
lost in the championship like 2 of the 3 years, so we didn't really. I don't know. They gave us like we were like the regular season champions, and I was like, I don't really want that trophy.
Yeah.
It kind of ties into what we were talking about like 15 minutes ago with being able to do whatever you wanted to in high school basketball. But what is the most disrespectful move that you've pulled off in a game?
That's a good one. I gotta think about it. Because I know there's something there too. It's crazy. That's the first time someone's ever asked me that question, so I gotta think for a little bit.
No, yeah, take your time.
Disrespectful move. I would say, on top of my head, I could probably do a better one, but I don't want to be sitting here thinking for 5 minutes.
You're good.
I would say AAU fast break had a windmill during the game. Like, you know what I mean?
Sheesh.
It was an open court. No one was behind me. Took my time, just wound it up and just got a windmill during the game. And honestly, I just remember, like, I honestly, I blacked out for like 2 seconds. I know it sounds crazy, but like the emotions were so high. I was so hyped. And honestly, another one too was during Valley. Dominic Peterson, he threw me a lob off the backboard.
That's
And
disgusting.
that was surreal too. So like probably those two things, I would say, not really disrespectful, but also like, just hyped up moments, I would say.
Like, where would you rate some of your better Miami highlights? I mean, you had the buzzer beater. Was that in New York during the tournament? Yeah. So you had that one. You had that one
yeah.
where like you mossed the guy off a free throw and put it back in with like 3 seconds. Like, what are some standout things you think you've done already at Miami?
I would say that the offensive rebound at Duke, I don't feel like it gets talked about a lot, which I'm cool with. I'm not really trying to chase the cloud or nothing, but like, also shout out to Sam Wardenberg too, because he boxed out Banchero pretty well. I got that rebound and off of Charlie Moore free throw miss and kicked it out. And then I believe Cam drove it down the lane, got an M1, put us up by a little bit. And I remember at one point during that game, Banchero, so Sam was driving, Banchero poked it from behind. He had like a wide open dunk, put us down by like, I think 6 or 7 with like a minute, some change left. We were all like, damn, that's it right there. But being able to come back, honestly, it was a comeback win, and getting the offensive rebound was just a great moment. And then the layup too in Brooklyn, although it wasn't really that crazy, like everybody.
It was
like,
just an easy layup.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I kind of forget about it sometimes because I'm like, it's just like a layup. Like I make layups all the time, but that was definitely dope. And then being able to like talk to the announcers after the game, like on TV, was definitely dope too.
Yeah. Was that game at Madison Square Garden or was that at Barclays? I know the championship was at Barclays. Dude, that stadium was awesome. Or arena.
100%. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was sick. That was sick. Well, the last question that I have for you, and I always ask my guests at the end of the show, and obviously since you're an athlete, what is some advice or recommendations that you would give to young athletes?
I would say it's cliche, but honestly, never give up on your dream. Like there's going to be moments where you feel like, you doubt your dream. There's going to be people that send negativity towards your dream, but you just stay persistent and keep doing anything it takes to reach your goals. Like you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. You know what I mean? If you put your time and dedication to something for a year, you'll be surprised about the results, that will come from it. So that would probably be my advice to them.
Have you always had that type of mentality, or is that something that you kind of acquired over the course of your career and just life?
Probably the course of my career, mainly college, probably starting my freshman, sophomore year. I dealt with a lot of confidence issues because I always played around like people that knew knew my game. So, they trusted me, but having to regain that trust from like teammates, coaching staff, it was something that kind of fell off. But like, just knowing like, okay, if I put the time and effort into something, like it's something that I can do, not the only thing stopping you is you at the end of the day.
Dude, I'm excited. I thank you so much for your time. I'm excited, now for this next season at Miami. We're ring chasing this year. So you guys got some good, good transfers. So I'm excited to keep up with it. And yeah, I thank you so much for your time, man. It was an honor getting to talk with you, Jordan.
100%, bro. I appreciate you more than you know, and it was dope to be able to do a podcast. And like I, wish nothing but the best for you. And if you're tapped in, I appreciate it. And as always, go Canes. You know what I mean?
Of course, man. Hey, and like I said, one more time, shout out to Traub for making this happen. I think he's excited for this one. He was asking me the other day.
Big shout out to Traub.
Yeah, big shout out. And guys, scroll down below. Check out Jordan on social media, Instagram at Jordan Miller. The L's are ones, but you can just click the link. And then Twitter, Jordan_Miller11. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening on any audio platforms, please rate 5 stars. Today was Monday, August 15th, 2022, episode 86. I was joined by Jordan Miller, starting guard for the University of Miami. Also played at Loudoun Valley High School, got them a championship, dropped almost 30 in the championship game, and played at Mason before transferring to Miami. But I'm your host of the show, Michael Maher, and I'll see everyone next week.